Welcome to True Echo, the place where quiet strength roars the loudest. Today's story is about grit, resilience, and the power of reclaiming your worth. What happens when a 43-year-old black woman walks into an MMA gym full of doubters? They laughed, until she made a pro fighter tap out in just 15 seconds. Stay with us. Because this story will change how you see power, age, and identity forever. The windshield wipers scraped steadily across the glass as rain pelted the roof of Kendra Holloway's beat-up Hyundai. Her fingers gripped the steering wheel longer than necessary even after she'd parked outside the full-force MMA gym in Roanoke, Virginia. She wasn't nervous, just cautious. A decade of raising 2 kids alone will make you strategic about every move, especially when walking into a space where you know the room won't make space for you. She glanced at the time, 6:42 p.m. Class would have already started warming up. With a long exhale, Kendra reached for her gym bag, adjusted the hood on her sweatshirt, and stepped into the storm. The gym hit her senses all at once: sweat, rubber, vinyl, and the unmistakable tang of bleach on old blood. Inside, fluorescent lights made the old auto body shop turned MMA gym look too sharp around the edges. People were stretching, grappling, laughing. And none of it involved her. She walked quietly to the front desk, clutching the waiver she had filled out the week before. The young guy behind the desk didn't even look up when he greeted her. "Evening. You must be, Kendra Holloway." "That's right," she said, calm and clear. "You're in the beginners group. Orientation's in the back with Coach Dino." "I signed up for advanced," she said, holding his gaze. That got his attention. He looked up, scanned her face, her frame, then down at the form. "Right, that's what it says here." "You sure about that?" "I wrestled for 10 years. I know what I signed up for." He blinked, caught off guard. "Cool. All right. Mats are to the left. They're just finishing warm-ups." She made her way across the gym floor. A few heads turned. A man with a sleeve of tattoos leaned toward his partner and whispered something that made the other guy laugh. Kendra didn't react. She simply found a place at the edge of the mat and started stretching. Coach Dino, a wiry man with a boxer's stance and a drill sergeant's demeanor, raised an eyebrow when he saw her. "You Holloway?" "Yes." "You're late." "Traffic," she replied, expression neutral. He gave a slight nod. "Line up." The drills were relentless. Pummeling, hip escapes, clinch work. Everyone was faster, younger, leaner. Kendra moved with purpose, not flash. She got paired with a girl named Zoe, 19 maybe, quiet, respectful, unsure of what to make of the woman twice her age but with hands that knew exactly where to grip and how to throw. The whispers came during drills. "She should stick to Zumba. Does she even know what a sprawl is? She's here for cardio. Just wait." By the end of class, Kendra's back was aching and her lungs burned. She didn't complain. When the others hit the locker room, she stayed behind. Alone on the mat, pounding combinations into the heavy bag, each strike deliberate, measured, and just a little bit angrier. From the far corner, Coach Miles, a slick-talking assistant with a smirk like it came standard, watched. Said nothing. But she felt it. That was just the beginning. The next night, Kendra parked 5 spots closer to the door. She still sat in the car for a few moments, this time not from hesitation but preparation. She wrapped her hands slowly, ritualistically. This wasn't about intimidation. It was about ownership. She wasn't here to prove anything. Not yet. She was here to claim space. Inside the gym, the atmosphere had shifted subtly. Not louder, heavier. The kind of silence that hovers just above a whisper, like people waiting for something they didn't want to say out loud. Zoe waved at her from across the mat. One small thread of familiarity. Kendra nodded and rolled her shoulders before dropping into a stretch. No one came to pair with her. Again. She'd expected that. Alright, warm-up rounds. Dino clapped, voice cutting across the gym. Double leg transitions, underhooks, pummeling. Let's go, 3-minute rounds. Zoe crossed over. You good with pummeling? Yeah, Kendra replied. They moved through the drill in silence. Grip, rotate, break balance, reset. Zoe was quick, learning. Her hands were unsure, but her eyes tracked everything Kendra did with intent. You've done this before, Zoe said, a little out of breath. High school. College. Zoe gave a slow nod, impressed. It was the most either of them had spoken. The rotation changed, and Kendra was paired with Brandon, a smug, stacked 20-something who looked like he trained on raw eggs and TikTok validation. He didn't speak as they squared up, just offered a tight-lipped grin that didn't reach his eyes. Seconds into the round, he swept her hard. No warning, no light test. Kendra landed hard, ribs flaring in protest. Her breath caught, but she didn't let it show. You good? Brandon asked, too casually. Fine. They reset. She moved differently this time, calculated, reactive. He tried the same move. She didn't fall for it. Pivoted, made him stumble. He didn't like that. Third round, he came in fast, full body slam. Not illegal. Not clean. Not necessary. Pain bloomed across her side, but she didn't flinch. Didn't give him that satisfaction. Coach Dino called time. Kendra stepped off the mat, chest rising slowly. She caught sight of Miles again, arms crossed, watching her like she was a science project he didn't believe in. Back in the locker room, she overheard someone imitate her voice, low and mocking. Still landed. She didn't react. Not because she was afraid, but because she had other plans. At home, Bree was microwaving leftovers. Isaiah sprawled on the living room floor, textbooks open, headphones on. How was class? Bree asked as Kendra dropped her bag by the door. Loud, Kendra answered, pulling a water bottle from the fridge. But I heard what I needed to hear. She didn't explain what that meant. Bree didn't ask. But her daughter watched her for a long beat, like she could see the tension coiled just beneath the surface. By the third week, Kendra had stopped waiting for anyone to make room. She stretched alone. Drilled solo. Kept to herself. No complaints. No requests. But the whispers were louder now, disguised as jokes. She's probably here on a 30-day trial just to post about it. Gonna post some cardio queen TikToks next. She let them talk. Every jab in training, every takedown in the garage, every push against that invisible wall became fuel. She didn't respond with words. She responded with work. Every morning before her shift at the call center, after the kids were at school, she laced up her old wrestling shoes in the garage. The mats were worn. The posters above them peeled. But to Kendra, it was sacred ground. In those quiet hours, she drilled, shadow wrestled, sprawled, reversed, pivoted. Her old coach's voice echoed in her mind. Drive through. Lower your hips. Don't chase, control. She had nearly made nationals once. Back when her name meant something on a bracket. Before the knee sprain. Before she traded medals for mortgage payments. Before the marriage, and then the divorce. That storm had quieted. But now the wind was coming back. Late one night, after most had left the gym, Dino approached her during her solo bag work. You train somewhere? High school. Some college. Spartanburg. He gave a low whistle. Varsity. Captain. Explains it. Your hips don't lie. She allowed a small, hard-earned smile. You ever think about competing again? She didn't answer right away. Just kept breathing. Focused. Not anymore. Dino nodded, didn't press. But the idea clung to her like sweat. And it wouldn't let go. By the end of week 4, Kendra could map the entire gym by behavior alone. Who avoided eye contact? Who partnered up quickly to avoid pairing with her? Who smiled politely but never spoke? She didn't need to hear the jokes anymore, she could feel them hanging in the air like invisible chalk dust. One guy, Chase Marlin, had become the de facto ringmaster. Mid-20s, confident in a shallow way, the type who wore flashy gear and bragged about fights that had never actually happened. He thrived on the locker room hierarchy, and Kendra, in his mind, didn't belong in it. Bet she's just here for the free trial, he snickered to Miles one night during underhook drills, loud enough for Kendra to hear. Gonna get some abs and post a before and after. Cardio queen, Miles added, barely containing his laughter. Kendra didn't even blink. She stepped onto the mat and squared up with her next partner, Serena, early 30s, solid stance, quick on her feet. You good? Serena asked after their first roll. Better every day, Kendra replied. Serena nodded, just once, but it meant something. During live sparring, Kendra took some hits. A clean shot to the temple. A sweep she didn't see coming. But she also landed 2 beautiful takedowns and locked an armbar on a newer guy that forced him to tap in less than 20 seconds. Lucky, Miles said from across the mat. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. At the end of class, Coach Miles clapped his hands and raised his voice. All right, heads up, crew. We've got a guest next week, Travis Morales. The room stirred. Someone whistled. Another guy bumped fists with Chase. 4-1 pro record. No joke. He's doing a seminar, drills, Q&A, maybe a few demo sparring rounds. The energy was instant. Elevated. Miles grinned. But this ain't for showboaters. You want a shot at a demo round, you better earn it. Morales doesn't waste time. Then his eyes landed on Kendra, just for a breath. You know what I'm saying. The ripple moved through the room. A few chuckled. Others just smirked. Zoe turned toward Kendra. He talking about you? Kendra grabbed her towel. Doesn't matter. But it did. It always did. Back at home, Bree sat doing homework at the kitchen table while Isaiah played games in his room. You okay? Bree asked, watching her mother sit down with barely touched dinner. I'm fine, Kendra said. You look tight. Kendra stared at her calloused hands for a moment. You ever feel like you're not afraid of people, just tired of having to prove you belong? Bree barely looked up. Every day at school. Kendra smiled softly. Then you get it. That weekend, she didn't rest. The garage turned into her sanctuary again. No music. No noise. Just rhythm. Shot. Sprawl. Sweep. Reverse. Over and over. By Sunday, her body screamed, but she didn't stop. Because this wasn't just about her anymore. It was about Bree. Isaiah. Every woman who'd ever been laughed out of a room she was qualified to walk into. Every person who had to work twice as hard for half the respect. She was done playing quiet. On Monday, she arrived early. No hoodie. No hesitation. She moved through her warm-up without waiting for a partner. Coach Dino approached quietly. You thinking about stepping in with Morales? If I get the chance. Dino nodded. Don't worry about Miles. He runs his mouth more than he runs drills. Kendra cracked a faint smile. Noted. Across the gym, Chase noticed them talking. Whispered something to Miles. Another laugh. Another invisible line drawn. But the thing about lines? Kendra had spent her whole life crossing them. Tuesday hit different. Gray tank top. Hair pulled back tight. Wrists wrapped clean. No smiles. No small talk. Pain still throbbed in her side from Brandon's body slam last Saturday. Didn't matter. Pain was just another rhythm now, background noise she'd learned to dance with. Zoe came up mid-stretch. You good? I'm alright. You've been different this week. I stopped asking for space, Kendra said, voice even. Zoe nodded slowly. They don't know who they're messing with. Kendra didn't answer. That night, they ran Shark Tank drills. Brutal rounds, 5 minutes, fresh opponents rotating in every 30 seconds. Kendra went third. She lasted the full round. No taps. No submissions. She got swept once, took a hard elbow to the chest, but stayed in control. Adjusted. Recentered. Survived. When the timer rang, even Miles had to acknowledge it. You're scrappier than you look, he muttered. Kendra wiped her face, never breaking eye contact. Good thing I'm not here to look good. His smile faltered. After class, she stayed again, pounding the heavy bag. Dino watched, then approached. You've got composure. That's what I like. She gonna spar Morales? Dino raised an eyebrow. You think he'll go for it? Oh, he'll spar, she said, landing a final sharp cross. He doesn't say no to a challenge. Dino gave a small shrug. Especially from someone like you. Kendra stopped. Gloves at her sides. He's not an idiot, Dino continued. He watches movement. Not resumes. She nodded. I've got movement. By Thursday, a shift had taken place, unspoken, but undeniable. When Kendra walked into the gym, she noticed it immediately. The parking lot was fuller than usual. Cars that didn't belong to regulars took up spaces. Some were too clean, too expensive, parked at careless angles like their owners expected to be noticed. Inside, the layout had changed. The main mat was cleared, lighting above it brighter than usual. Phones were already out, short clips being filmed, voices louder than necessary. Excitement buzzed under the ceiling lights. Travis, Iron Hands, Morales had arrived. Thick-shouldered, long-armed, neck like a fire hydrant, Travis stood near the front counter, talking with Dino. He didn't wear flash, just plain black gear, no sponsor logos, no unnecessary design. A single scar sat above his right eye, and his cauliflowered ears spoke louder than any Instagram bio ever could. This man had bled for it. Kendra entered like always, quiet, focused. She didn't approach the crowd or try to get close. Instead, she moved toward the far mat and began her warm-up, slow, deliberate stretches, breathing even, hands already wrapped tight. She could feel the eyes. Not all. But enough. She better not raise her hand. She's gonna get crushed. She gonna ask to spar. For real. Their whispers slid off her like sweat. She kept her gaze low, her heart rate steady. She had trained for this moment, not just this week, but for years. For decades. For every time she was underestimated, laughed at, or dismissed. Dino clapped his hands for attention. Alright, listen up. Travis is gonna walk us through some drills, give feedback, then we'll open the mat for a sparring demo or two. No heroes, no heavy shots, just controlled flow. Let's keep it clean. The gym huddled close, watching Morales move like a wave wrapped in skin. He spoke low, calm, instructive. He wasn't arrogant, he didn't have to be. I don't care about records, he said. I care about how you move. If you step wrong, I'll exploit it. If you try to impress me instead of outthink me, you'll lose. That's simple. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. Then, stillness. Who's stepping up first? Silence. Miles opened his mouth to say something, likely another jab disguised as a joke, but he didn't get the chance. From the back of the room, Kendra's voice rang out, "I will." Heads turned. Even Dino blinked. Travis looked her over, not dismissive, but curious. Analytical. "You sure?" "Yes." Another beat of silence. Then a scoff from Chase. "You for real?" he muttered under his breath. Kendra didn't even turn. Zoe stepped close. "You don't have to prove anything." "I'm not," Kendra said, stepping forward. "I'm just ready." The mat felt different under her feet this time, like something alive, waiting. Morales nodded to Dino. "She got gear." "She's good," Dino said, a bit lower than usual. Kendra slipped in her mouthguard. Checked her gloves. Hair pulled back tight. No nerves, just silence. Just breath. They tapped gloves. And then, it happened. Travis feinted left. She slipped. He shot low. She sprawled. He pivoted. She turned. He went for a hook. She ducked under, took his back, rotated. Triangle. Clean. Precise. Unforgiving. 15 seconds. Maybe less. Tap. And the room exploded. For a moment, no one moved. Then, someone gasped. Another, "No way." She made him tap. Travis rolled, sat up, blinked, and laughed, genuinely. He wiped sweat from his brow and looked straight at her. Damn. That was tight. She offered a hand to help him up. He took it. "You're not here to play," he said. Kendra stepped back, unflinching. "No. I'm not." From the edge of the mat, Miles stood frozen. Chase's jaw clenched like he'd bitten into something sour. Zoe's eyes were wide open, full of awe. Coach Dino just smiled. Kendra didn't linger. She walked back to her corner, sipped water, and sat down like it was just another Thursday. But the gym would never be the same. Some tried to explain it away, he wasn't going full speed, or she got lucky. But they knew. They saw it. Technique. Control. Timing. And a whole lot of earned fury. Kendra packed up her gear, nodded to Dino, and walked out. No celebration. No victory dance. She didn't need it. Because the people who matter, saw. And the ones who didn't. Did now. Rain had let up by the time Kendra reached her car. The streets shimmered under the haze of streetlights, reflecting the world like a mirror too fogged to make sense of yet. She sat behind the wheel, soaked in sweat, heartbeat steady. She didn't smile. Not because she wasn't proud, but because it had never been about winning. It was about arrival. The next morning, her phone buzzed with 3 messages before she even stepped out of bed. Zoe had sent a clip, blurry, shaky, shot from the back row of the gym, but it was clear enough. The tap. The scramble. The moment Travis slapped the mat. By noon, the video had been reposted 5 times across different MMA forums. Then Twitter. Then TikTok. No hashtags. No captions. Just raw footage. Kendra Holloway vs. Travis Morales. Tap. 15 seconds. When she walked into the gym that evening, it was different. People didn't avoid her anymore. They moved aside. They nodded. No words, just a quiet shift in the air. Miles didn't speak. He ran his drills like usual, but the smirk was gone. He didn't assign her a partner for sparring either. Dino did. Brandon. Kendra met him in the center mat. Gloves up, body loose. Brandon didn't speak, didn't joke, didn't smile like before. He simply nodded. Respect. They rolled for 4 minutes, no showboating. He came in heavy, but controlled. Kendra matched him with equal pressure, every transition tight, deliberate. No points. No taps. Just flow. When the timer beeped, Brandon held out a glove. You train like it matters. It does, Kendra replied. Dino clapped loudly. That's it for tonight. Good work, folks. As people filtered out, a woman Kendra hadn't seen before approached her. Maybe mid-40s, short braids, nervous energy wrapped in a hopeful smile. I saw the video, she said. Kendra turned, towel over her shoulder. Yeah. You're the reason I came tonight. Kendra paused. First time. I've been thinking about it for months, the woman said. But I kept telling myself I was too old. Too out of shape. That people would laugh. Kendra looked her square in the eye. They might. The woman blinked. But not for long, Kendra added, and walked past her, calm and unbothered. Back home, Bree was sitting at the table, phone propped up against her water bottle. You went viral, she said, not looking up. So I've heard. They're calling you the Triangle Auntie. Kendra groaned. No. Oh yes. There's even a slowed-down version with dramatic music. Isaiah poked his head out from the hallway. Can you teach me that move? Only if you finish your homework first, Kendra said, smiling. It wasn't just joy. It was release. The kind of weight that slips off your chest when you realize you never needed permission to be great. Later, after the kids were asleep, she sat on the floor of the garage. The same duct-taped mat. The same peeling posters. She laid back, eyes closed, and let her breath settle into rhythm. This wasn't a comeback. This was a reintroduction. The next week, the gym pulsed with a different kind of energy. Dino's voice still barked orders. The mat still smelled like bleach and old sweat. But people moved differently around Kendra. Some gave her space, not out of disrespect, but deference. Others gave nods of acknowledgement. Even Chase, once the loudest critic, had quieted down. He still made jokes, just not about her. Not anymore. During a break, Miles approached her for the first time since the spar. No swagger. No smirk. Just a towel slung over his neck and hands buried in his pockets. I didn't think you had that in you, he said. Kendra didn't blink. You mean, you didn't want to? He exhaled sharply through his nose and nodded. Maybe. They stood there in silence. You're good, he finally admitted. Kendra leaned against the wall, breathing steady. I've always been good. He gave a dry chuckle. Yeah. You have. Then walked away. Later that night, Dino pulled her aside near the front desk. You ever think about coaching? Kendra blinked. Me? You've got something they don't. Patience. Composure. People are watching now, even the ones who won't say it. Kendra glanced across the gym. A new woman, early 50s, nervous, unsure, was fumbling through warm-up drills. Zoe was helping her stretch. I don't know, Kendra said. I came here for me. Exactly, Dino said. That's what makes you the right one. She didn't answer. But the idea stayed with her long after she left. The offer to coach sat with Kendra like a pebble in a shoe, noticeable, persistent, not painful but impossible to ignore. She didn't give Dino an answer that night. She didn't even give herself one. Instead, she did what she'd always done when the world asked too much too fast, she went silent, then went to work. The next morning, after dropping Bree and Isaiah at school, she pulled into the driveway and didn't go inside. Instead, she stepped into the garage, shut the door behind her, and stood on the mat. She didn't need to rehearse the Travis choke or any of the old drills she knew by heart. What she needed to do was breathe. To remember. To ground herself before others tried to redefine her again. She flowed through a series of movements, not flashy, not fast. Just fundamental. Each strike, each sweep, each block was a note in the rhythm of a language she had once forgotten how to speak. But now, it poured out of her. For the first time in years, Kendra felt like she wasn't just surviving. She was building something again. That Thursday, when she walked into the gym, something subtle, but powerful, had changed. The new woman she'd seen earlier in the week looked over at her immediately and smiled. Zoe waved from across the mat, already warming up with another student, and called out, "She's back." A few regulars nodded at her, nothing loud, nothing exaggerated. Just quiet, earned acknowledgement. But the part that truly struck her was this: no one looked through her anymore. And that was everything. Dino brought her over after class and introduced her to the new woman, Michelle. Nervous eyes. Slow hands. "She's never trained before," he said. "Wants to start with basics." "I figured you'd be better than me." Kendra raised an eyebrow. "She asked for you," Dino added, then walked away. Michelle shifted awkwardly on her feet. "I saw the video. But it wasn't the choke that got me." Kendra tilted her head. "It was the way you got up after. Like it was nothing. Like dignity." Kendra didn't know what to say to that, so she simply extended a hand. "Let's start with balance." They worked through stance, center of gravity, how to fall without fear. Michelle moved awkwardly but earnestly. By the end of the short session, her confidence had inched forward, not much, but enough to see. "Thank you," she whispered, gripping Kendra's hand before leaving. Kendra watched her walk off, shoulders higher than when she'd entered. And something in her chest, something she hadn't let herself acknowledge, cracked open, just a little. Maybe Dino was right. Maybe it was time to stop keeping this power to herself. At home, Bree was filling out scholarship applications while Isaiah scrolled through wrestling tutorials on YouTube. "You know they're still talking about you at the gym, right?" Bree said. Kendra raised an eyebrow. "Yeah. They're saying you might take over the Wednesday basics class." Kendra smirked. "I didn't agree to that." "But you're gonna," Bree said, not looking up. Kendra crossed her arms, leaning against the doorframe. "You seem sure." "Because you're different now, Mom." "How?" "You used to walk into rooms like you were hoping they wouldn't notice you. Now you walk in like you dare them to." Kendra didn't respond. But that hit deeper than she let show. The next Monday, Dino handed her a clipboard and a whistle before class. "Just help warm-ups. Nothing major," he said with a grin. She almost laughed. That night, she led the basic drills. The new students listened. Some struggled. Some fell. But they all looked at her, not through her, not past her. At her. With trust. And when class ended, Dino nodded from across the gym. Later, while packing up, Miles approached again, slower this time, something in his eyes that almost looked like respect. "You coaching now?" he asked. "Maybe. You're gonna be good at it." Kendra gave him a small smile. "I already am." The video of her sparring with Morales had topped 50,000 views by the end of the week. She hadn't posted it. She hadn't shared it. But it had found its way to inboxes and group chats and training forums all across the country. The comments were a mix. Some in awe. Some in denial. Some too busy trying to explain away what they saw. But the truth didn't need defense. It was right there, in full color. Kendra Holloway, 43. Mother of 2. Once counted out. Still undefeated in all the ways that mattered. By week 8, it was no longer a surprise when someone asked Kendra for help with form. Or when newcomers watched her out of the corner of their eye, trying to mimic her stance. Or when Coach Dino handed her the clipboard at the beginning of class, saying, "You run warm-ups tonight," like it was the most natural thing in the world. Because by now, it was. But it was never about being liked. That wasn't the victory. The Real win was subtler, how she now took up space unapologetically. How she had gone from invisible to undeniable without ever raising her voice. And it showed. She didn't walk differently, people just moved when she walked. Michelle, the nervous newcomer from a few weeks back, had become a regular. She still fumbled, still tripped, but her posture had changed. She laughed more. She sparred more. And she looked people in the eye now. One night after class, she came up to Kendra and said something simple. "I stopped being afraid after I watched you stop asking permission." Kendra didn't know how to respond to that at first. So she nodded and said, "Good. You shouldn't have to ask to be seen." The words lingered even after Michelle walked away. Because once, a long time ago, Kendra had needed someone to say that to her. Zoe had blossomed too. Stronger grip. Tighter transitions. Confidence in her voice. "You know you've become the reason half of us show up early, right?" she said after one grueling Thursday night session. Kendra raised an eyebrow. "Me? You lead by showing up," Zoe said. "No lectures. No Instagram reels. Just work." Kendra exhaled. She wasn't used to compliments, at least, not the kind that felt real. "You ever think about competing again?" Zoe asked gently. Kendra stared at the mat. "I used to dream about it," she said. "Back then it was about glory. Trophies. Nationals. Now it would just be for me." "Then do it," Zoe said. "Do it for you." That night, Bree was on the couch watching something on her phone while Isaiah finished dinner at the table. Kendra sat in the garage alone, looking at the old varsity jacket again, the one from Spartanburg. It still smelled like old gym halls and long bus rides. Her name stitched just above the heart. She didn't try it on. She didn't need to. She'd outgrown that girl, and become someone far more dangerous. Someone whole. One Friday evening, a small MMA podcast emailed the gym asking if they could interview the woman who submitted Travis Morales. Kendra politely declined. Not because she was shy. Because the ones who needed her story already knew it. The clip had passed 100,000 views. People called her the Silent Storm. The Triangle Auntie. A few even called her Coach Holloway in comments, assuming she'd been teaching for years. The irony wasn't lost on her. She had been teaching, just without a title. Miles, who once mocked her from the corners of the gym, now nodded when they crossed paths. Chase had all but vanished from view, no longer the loudest in the room. New members came in weekly, and when they looked around for leadership, their eyes landed on her. Not Dino. Not Miles. Her. And she didn't run from it. It was a quiet Tuesday when the moment that brought it full circle arrived. A teenage girl walked into the gym with her mother. Nervous, baggy hoodie, long sleeves pulled over her hands. She kept close to the wall. Kendra caught her eye. Just for a second. And then, like fate nudging her forward, Dino waved Kendra over. "First-time visitor. Think you could show her around?" Kendra smiled and walked over, crouching slightly to the girl's level. "You ever trained before?" The girl shook her head. "You nervous?" Another nod. "That's okay," Kendra said. "Most of us were. Let me show you the mat." The girl hesitated, then followed. And just like that, the cycle began again. That night, while folding laundry at home, Bree spoke without looking up. "You ever notice how people listen now when you speak?" Kendra glanced over. "What do you mean?" "I mean, they hear you. Not just out of respect, but because they want to know what you'll say next. Kendra didn't respond right away. She just folded another towel. Then said, "It took a long time for that to happen." "Yeah," Bree replied. "But you made it happen." In the garage later that evening, Kendra stood barefoot on the mat. No audience. No cameras. No pressure. She moved slowly, stance, sweep, sprawl, transition. Every motion purposeful, like poetry written in silence. She wasn't training to win. She was remembering who she had always been. And honoring the fact that now, finally, the world knew it too. Kendra Holloway didn't ask for permission to be seen, she demanded it by never backing down. In a room full of doubters, she didn't yell, didn't fight to be heard, she simply showed up, again and again, until her presence couldn't be denied. Because sometimes the strongest voice is the one that speaks through action. Your worth isn't up for debate. Not when you've already proven it to yourself. If this story stirred something inside you, share it. Someone out there is questioning whether they belong, and maybe your share is what reminds them they do. Subscribe for more real stories of quiet strength, loud lessons, and the people who rise without permission.